Hi, everyone. My name is Corian Lewis Ward. I am a master's student at the University of West Georgia in Sports Management and Administration. And it is my pleasure to present my research, my oral research, to you guys at the College Sports Research Institute. For this, I decided to choose a topic directly linked to what my passion was, as well as what could assist in the expansion or the improvement within sports and the sports management role. So what I chose to do was I chose to select a topic um, in college sports and high school sports from the coach's perspective. What I decided to do was I looked at sports and how we could improve upon them, and the different pieces of technology as we move forward into the new world that we have here. Technology is a big part of sports as well as everything else that we do and everything else that we choose to be a part of. So we always ask the athletes their perspective or how they think this could help them or how they think that things could be improved, because of course they're the direct link within that sport. They're the ones that are participating. But I always thought, what about the individuals that actually lead them, who move them forward or help them progress, who actually have to utilize that technology. So within my research, what I chose to present was from the coach's perspective. I want to know the effects and the implementation of technology, the effects of the implementation of technology within training design and athletic performance. So pretty much, how does the new pieces of technology that's being presented now, how are they affecting the athletes improve, in their athletic performance, and how do they implement those pieces of technology into their training design to, gain improvement from their athletes or just to build a solid progressive program. So of course I have created a slideshow to present this, and I'll begin presenting it now. 1 second. All right. All right, so you should be able to see my slideshow now. Of course, presenting straight to the College Sports Research Institute. Of course, once again, my name is Corian Lewis Ward. Big thanks to my advisor and one of my professors, Dr. Isu Jara Pazamino. She really assisted me into moving forward and conducting this research, and helped me, by guiding me through the best route to take in which I am presenting to you guys today. All right. So of course, restating, my research topic there, the coach's perspective on the effects and the implementation of technology on training design and athletic performance. Just seeing how technology can and has improved upon the different sports. The three different sports that I decided to target were football, basketball, and track and field. So what I was going to do in this, I was going to go ahead and, approach different coaches from college and high school levels. So, with this newly developed technology, as I stated before, we asked the athletes, what do they desire? What can help them improve, different things that we're going to touch on a little bit later in the presentation. But this is directly focused towards the coaches' perspectives. And I was able to meet with many different coaches that gave me many different ideas and their perspectives on different ways technology has improved their programs and the ways that technology can improve programs moving forward. Say again. All right, so of course, the literature review, I was able to find many different pieces of literature and scholarly articles that targeted similar paths that I'm targeting today, or similar objectives. So of course, the implementation of technology is widely discussed amongst, the world leading sports organizations. So NFL, NBA, the Olympics, we all discuss how technology can help improve the sport, whether that's from performance to maintaining a safe environment for the athletes, etc. But this presentation is directly towards training design and performance and how we can improve upon that. And the importance in development of these technologies by sports scientists. So with the literature review one of the literature reviews or literary articles I chose to utilize and review upon Giblin, Tor, and Parrington. They speak. Their topic was technology and elite sports performance. They spoke about a lot of different pieces of technology that helped improve upon different sports that they evaluated as well. They discussed how those pieces of technologies can improve upon things moving forward in the future. One piece of technology they discussed the most, it was computer vision systems. And they utilized that they stated that sports scientists utilize computer vision systems to improve upon biomechanics. And that was mainly used in training design. So I thought that was very interesting, that, they use that type of system in training design, which helped lead to performance, increase performance or increase in the performance goal once the athlete reached the competition. So I thought that was very interesting. And of course, it helped me with some insight on how I was going to target certain types of technology when I did decide to make a list. And that's another thing I decided to do. It was make an equipment list to try to give, the coaches, once I interviewed them, the idea of the different technologies that I was, thinking about and aiming for, and also gave them the option to, speak with me about things that I haven't yet known of or that are just new into their specific sports category. So, of course, as I stated, improve upon the biomechanical movement and training leading to the improvement of performance and, come time for the competition. So pretty much that was the direct component of that computer visionary system that the authors mentioned. Also, they touched on smartphones, tablets, apps, and, the high frequency of use of those pieces of technologies by sports professionals and of course sports scientists, coaches, and they say that those types of pieces of technology can be implemented into any type of training design on any given day. You have that at your disposal. We all have smartphones. We all have computers. We all have things in applications or apps to utilize to help the athletes and help us either coach better or evaluate the athletes better. In that retrospect. 1 second. Of course, they also spoke about GPS technology, in reference to strength and conditioning training. They utilize that as a way to, I guess, analyze biomechanical intervention. So things like that also help give me a perspective when I was creating the equipment list for the coaches I was going to interview, just to see if they even knew about things like that, how GPS technology and the applications could help and could, better promote, athletic performance and improve upon their training design. So how I, chose to do this was, of course, I want to analyze the coach's perspective on the effects and implementation of technology on training design and athletic development, of course. I decided to do interviews. So interviews, I feel, are what would be the best way to conduct this research. Interviews with the interview questions, of course. All coaches have different perspectives, and that is known. But the best thing to do is ask. So, rather than, going through, a different route, I felt that asking the coaches directly, especially if they're currently in season and they're currently using these technologies on a day-to-day basis, asking them, do they utilize these, or how they utilize them, or how does it lead to that improvement upon the performance of their athletes, or do they have things that they could speak with me about that I might not have known of, or something new that their institution has presented that could be a game changer, for the training design and athletic performance factors. So I decided to go ahead and create, interview questions that I will share with you later within the presentation. And I asked the coaches those questions as we went through them. And, short interview, mainly since, we're going through, unfortunately, this pandemic. I did a lot of Zoom calls or Google Meets, and a few, I think maybe one or two over the phone calls, but mainly the coaches were very open to meet via the Google Meets, and they gave, showed examples, gave a lot of detailed information when it came down to the implementation of technology and what they choose to do and what they love to do. All right. So primarily I found that I was able to interview a total of 10 coaches. And of course, I'm going to continue this research and expand upon it. So I'm going to try to interview more coaches just so I can see if we can, get a more broader understanding of every, thing that the coaches are dealing with as far as changing the game with the pieces of technology they use. But so far, I was able to interview 10 coaches. 6 coaches were high school coaches, and 6 coaches were college coaches. The college coaches were Division I coaches. So these were top tier schools. And I'll speak about one later on in the presentation as well. But one thing I can say about each and every coach I interviewed, they all spoke highly of technology. They stated that there was no piece of technology they thought was ineffective in a way in which, they presented to their athletes. They stated that it is crucial that we implement technology into the training designs, whether it is, at a high school level, college level, even going into professional levels, because it could help with the improvement of the performance. Of course, when you think about sports, you think about the performance and how you're going to get to the ultimate goal, which is to win. So whether that's winning individually in track and field or winning championships in football or basketball, the ultimate goal is to accomplish your ultimate goal, which is to win. So in a way of thinking, giving your athletes the competitive edge in a way. So these pieces of technology are created and they're available to all, for the most part. So anyone who has access to them, they're available for you to use to improve upon your performance. And that is something I'll speak about as well moving forward. One thing I noticed was once I interviewed the coaches, I noticed that, of course, which most people would think, most of the high school coaches I interviewed, they stated that they didn't have as much access to some of the pieces of technology that, of course, the college coaches at a Division I college would have access to. The pieces of technology that college coaches in Division I had access to was remarkable. Some things that I didn't even know personally existed. That just shows you how far we are going, as far as changing the game with technology in sports. So probably one of my favorite interviews, Coach Ken Harden. He's one of the coaches in track and field at the University of Tennessee. So Division I coach, track and field, very, knowledgeable about his craft, was once a Olympic, participant. So he has a higher knowledge of the game, of the sport of track and field, and he's passing that down to his athletes. One thing he did inform me was that, all on one quote from him, of course, all technology is useful in some way, shape, or form. It is up to the user of that technology to maximize its effectiveness. That was a very, very, very detailed quote. And I like that quote so much that I decided to implement it in my presentation. It is up to, the coaches or the administrators within that sport to utilize it to its best ability to maximize its usefulness. So he did speak with me about one piece of technology that honestly I wasn't aware of so far. It's called Whoop. So it's a armband, kind of remind you of a Fitbit, but not necessarily the same thing. So its focus is on recovery. They're able to track their athletes' recovery through the sensor and the Whoop band. So it will tell you, throughout the athletes will wear it, throughout performance, and it'll tell you, at what point, their athletes need recovery, or if they're doing a good enough job with their recovery process, whether that's sleep, icing, or just resting the body, or if they're going through a hard week as far as training wise, at what point should the coaches, decrease the training load to reduce against injury. That is a game changer. That could help keep your athletes at, their highest performance capacity rather than them, overtraining and burning out, or just leading to a severe injury due to that overtraining and not enough rest. So I think that piece of technology was very, very important that he actually informed me about. It was my first time hearing about it. We had a very, very long conversation regarding the different pieces of technology. We went through the technology list that I have created, and he stated that he was pretty much familiar with all of them. We were able to go through them, and he loved the fact that I was bringing this to attention because one of my goals is if I could create standard. That's why I created the equipment list. I want to create a standard so that high schools and colleges are kind of like on the same wavelength as far as what should be implemented into a training design, and to pretty much improve the performance. So improved performance means that you have happier athletes, more successful programs, and that the athletes and the coaches are able to benefit the most and get the most out of their program. All right, another great interview that I had, Coach Will Collins. He is actually the founder of a company that he calls Fast University. So Fast University is a company that Mr. Collins started, and he coaches. So he coaches and provides detailed information in the area of track and field. Once again, this is track and field. I was able to reach a lot of coaches in track and field based off of my background. He actually coaches out of the greater Houston area. So he assists with a lot of high school athletes in track and field. He also collaborates with many colleges in the Houston area. So his knowledge and his higher knowledge of the sport of track and field has, gained. He was able to gain a lot of notoriety, and he's able to assist his student athletes in their development. And he speaks highly of his training design. He loves to implement different pieces of technology so that it benefits his athletes the most. One thing he did speak with me about was Fusion Sports Timing Gate. So pretty much what the Fusion Sports Timing Gate is, it kind of enhances upon the stopwatch. So with the enhancement upon the stopwatch, he's able to gain, I guess, more accurate timing of his student athletes when going through different events. So he spoke with me about one of his students who will be going to a Division I school now. After the season, congratulations to him. He used the Fusion Sports Timing Gate. It is pretty much, it's an app that you utilize on your phone, and you just place one timing gate station at the finish point where the student athlete will finish. So of course, upon movement, the student wears a sensor. Upon movement in the progression of the sport, or in this event, which he stated was the 200-meter dash, once the student moves and reacts in a way that they're getting ready to run, the sensor notifies the timing gate at the finish line, and it's going to give a more accurate timing of that student's event, more so than if he was to time them with a stopwatch. And that's kind of more as innovative as you can get with track and field. If you can get an accurate timing of that event, this could lead to you having a better idea of, should you input this student in this event, or do they need more time to progress, or should you change the training and it just gives the coaches more of an idea of what they can do for that student or how that student is going to perform come time for a competition. So I felt like that was something very important that he did share with me. Very knowledgeable about the sport, spoke highly of biomechanic training. He felt that, things such as applications, that are being created for sports performance training was very important to the game or to the sport of track and field. And it has helped him as a coach, meet the expectations, and it's helped the students exceed their expectations in the different events and different roles that they possess. All right, and concluding that from the sports perspective, it does show that based off of the interviews that I conducted, that technology is beneficial, and has a, great effect on the training design as well as athletic performance of the athletes. Coaches mentioned, different ways that we can implement those technologies into their programs and ways that they have implemented technology into their programs that has been, that's done wonders, for their careers. Their idea of training has helped them develop as, coaches when creating their training design and, improved upon their careers and the students and athletes' careers as well. Each coach mentioned that, the innovative nature surrounding around sports is essential to the future advancement of coaches and the development of athletes. So reiterating, they feel that every coach that I spoke with, whether high school or college, they feel that technology is a must. You have to have technology into your programs, or you're not gonna meet your goals, or you're not gonna meet the expectations that you have for yourself as a coach, or that the athlete has for their self. So it helps. It's gonna improve. You're gonna improve with any type of technology you use because it's providing you vital information on how you can get to that next level and how can you reach that goal that you would like to reach as a coach and as an athlete. And this is just from each coach. Each coach gave me a description on how they felt, and that was, the synopsis of what they stated, that they feel that technology is a must and it has to be used. All right. So for me, it's safe to conclude after doing my research that the implement of technology on training design and athletic performance is a must, as I stated again. So it is a must-have. So technology should be used, and based off of my response from the coaches that I spoke with, technology is, across the board, is a great tool. It will help your program and do wonders for your program. And moving forward in the future, of course, we see that more new things are being created, such as the Whoop sensor that I stated that are tracking recovery, which I didn't personally have when I was participating in high school and college sports. But as we progress, we're going to have more things that are going to lead to better performance goals and better ways that you can coach the athletes. So the next thing I will be speaking on would be the interview questions and the equipment list that I developed to try to give you an idea of what me and the coaches spoke about. But first, this is an open questionnaire for anyone who would like to have questions. Of course, you can send it directly to my email at clewisw1@mywestga.edu. I'll be happy to respond directly to you within a timely fashion. Any questions or any concerns that you might have regarding my interview process or my research and how I further took further steps in reaching out to the coaches, just shoot me an email. I'll be glad to speak with you about it. All right, so these were my research questions. So pretty much starting off basic, how do you incorporate technology and into your current training program, expanding upon that. Do you have a piece of technology that you favor? Just to see, what the coaches use, fill out what the coaches like to use on a day-to-day basis, whether that's basketball. I do know that most of the basketball coaches I spoke with, they spoke about, apps and tablets. They love to use tablets. They love, that there are certain apps on the tablets that, can help you draw plays. So that was the main thing that I noticed about football as well. Primarily basketball, loved it. So things like that, and then expanding upon that, and with the last question being is, ultimately, what effect do you think that the implementation of technology has on sports? That was the question that I received the best responses from, because it didn't limit the coaches to one specific thing. They were able to provide me their detailed, broad perspective of what they thought technology has done and is doing to their particular sports that they were currently, working with. Of course, this is the equipment list that I created. I, personally created this based off of my experience as an athlete, and things that I noticed were introduced to me early on and later in my athletic career, and things I also learned about within the program that I am currently in at the University of West Georgia. So things as the electronic performance tracking system, kind of like that Fusion Gate tool that I spoke with you about, that me and Mr. Will Collins spoke about, what Coach Collins spoke about earlier on. Of course, wearable microphones, we see that a lot in, college and, not necessarily high school, but we see that a lot in college as far as, football wearing the mics and basketball wearing the mics, helmet sensors, so things that could track concussions, so that's something that I noticed a lot, when I, participated in sports, and things that we went over in our current program in sports administration and management here at West Georgia as well. So, things that could also be used in training design and performance, but that could track different things. So tracking, concussions could reduce against injury, reducing against injury can improve upon performance, and coaches' utilization of this could help their program, excel. So they're all linked together. So in that type of way, shape, or form. Of course, tablets, apps, smartwatches, Fitbits. It says shot tracking system for basketball, virtual reality. That's something that I've noticed is something that's up and coming. With virtual reality, they're utilizing that kind of like a pre-performance type spectrum. So it kind of gives you the pre-competition experience by putting you mentally in that setting. And I thought that that was very unique. Of course, expand upon that to video and film recording. That's another thing that Coach Ken Harden and Will Collins spoke highly of, being able to show their athletes what they're doing or what they need to improve upon, rather than just saying it, has worked wonders. So since the implementation of video recording into every sport, whether it's football, basketball, track, it has worked wonders for coaches, because they actually show their athlete. Sometimes telling an athlete, hey, you need to adjust this, and then being able to show them that it's, a kind of epiphany type factor for the athlete. They say, hi, okay. It has them change their way of thinking, rather than thinking, coach is just telling me this. They're able to show them that. And even with the tablets, with that recording, they're able to draw and direct the athlete on what they need to do. That was something that Coach Collins and Coach Harden spoke highly of. Of course, the Ultra G treadmill, hyperbaric chambers. I did speak with most of the coaches. A lot of the coaches stated that they didn't have access to the hyperbaric chamber, of course, but a few of them did, which I thought was, very, very, great for their programs, because a hyperbaric chamber, of course, that helps, with conditioning. It helps with rehabilitation of injuries, and it helps with overall getting in shape and staying ahead of the curve, by implementing more oxygen, into your body. So that's a great, tool to have. And then things like cryotherapy, e-stim for maintenance of injuries, ultrasound, and then sports data sensors, within equipment, but, things like the implementation of those sensors into the helmets, to prevent against the actual concussions. So things like that. And plyometric blocks, so, and developmental things such as resistance training. We see a lot of pulleys, a lot of parachutes being created and sleds. So each of these pieces of technology, the only piece of technology that most coaches stated that they didn't have was the the hyperbaric chamber. But outside of the hyperbaric chamber, each coach spoke highly of each piece of technology and pretty much stated that they had access to each piece of technology, which I thought was great. So expanding upon that, this is the conclusion of my presentation. It has been great, speaking with you guys, and it's a pleasure to be a part of this conference. This is my first presentation as far as research-wise to a conference. Sorry if I was a little bit nervous, but I want to thank you for the opportunity. I was glad to share my findings with you guys. Of course, if you have any questions at all, please reach out directly to me at my email that I provided to you earlier. I'll be happy to speak with you. But outside of that, I do want to thank you for the opportunity and thank you for sharing my research at the College Sports Research Institute. And you guys have a great day. Hopefully next year, if I'm able to participate, we could, be more in person or no more formal, and it won't have to be a virtual meet. But until then, you guys have a great rest of your day, and thank you once again.